So today we're gonna learn how to follow a successful design process for your own design project. This podcast is for students, design students, for design newcomers, and maybe even for people that are working with other creatives now at the moment and want to know how a design process actually works. So this process can be adapted or used for every kind of design project that you're actually working on. So it could be animation, video project, it could be a graphic design project, could be a branding project, right? It always follows the same steps. So let's get into it. Step number 1, requirements. So it's really important to get a proper brief from your clients, right? The brief gives you the proper information to understand what is required to get the job done, okay? Secondly, the client or the teacher or whoever will give you references, okay? So references, okay, this is should maybe look like that. There is an example, right? And that's basically setting really the lowest standard that you need to do, right? Of course, you need to do a better job than the reference they give you, right? Thirdly is the target audience, right? So sometimes you get enough information to understand the target audience, but if you don't get enough, right? It's your job as a designer to get the full understanding of the target audience of the design project that you actually design something for, right? If you need to do research, do it. The next thing is, what's the mission of your design project, right? The mission is the most important thing, right? What is your client or what are you trying to achieve with the design project, right? You need to understand that and you need to set the mission for it. As an example, do you try to sell something? Do you try to sell a product? Do you want to convert people into something, right? Do you want to sell an idea? Do you want to bring across a specific message, right? All these kind of things is something that you need to determine. Second step, standards. Okay, so at this step you need to check out what's out there. Okay, you're checking it out. For example, what did the competition do, right? What did other designers do, right? At the end, design is basically just a development, right? You see what's out there, right? You get it in, right? You put your own twist on it and you make it better. Really important to understand what's out there. This will actually set you standard, okay? So the standard meaning like this is the standard to beat, right? You need to have a standard to beat because your design project, if you're a good designer, needs to be always better than a reference. Third step, inspiration. Okay. Without being inspired or motivated about something, it's really hard to get a good design job done, right? So the most important thing is to get motivated. You need to be motivated about every single project you do, Even if it's a project that you're not interested in, right? If it's a two-flyer design of a really boring vacuum cleaner product or something like that, or a suitcase or whatever I can think of, right? It is the key to get motivated about every single project that you do, even if you're not motivated, right? It's your job to get motivated. And this is for some people already like a main step where they fail, right? And when people are not motivated about the product, right? How can you expect a design project becoming something special, something memorable? Then inspirations, right? You need to look for inspirations. You can check out inspirations today really easily over the internet, right? If you're a student, just go on Pinterest, go on Google, go on award websites, and just check out the things that are looking interesting, right? Those inspirations do not need to have the same context as the project you're actually working on now. Those inspirations do not need to be from the same industry. Those inspirations do not need to have the same technique or even medium of the design project that you're actually working on. It's basically, you can get inspired by an animal, right? You can get inspired by a geometrical form, right? You can get inspired by a word. So this is really important to get together, right? And this inspiration step is basically the first step of designing a mood board, right? So the inspiration part is the first step of a mood board that you put together on a Google Drive, right? And you put different references together, right? If you have 1 deck, 2 decks, 3 decks, you know, and you look at those all together, right? You can pick out and filter out really a few inspirational elements that will lead your design project. Most importantly, that inspiration part on your mood board, right, is setting another standard to your design project. You're trying to get that standard, if not higher than the inspiration that you put on there. The fourth step is the concept, creating a context. So if you have your mood board together, right, you're trying to use different ideas from your mood board, look at your references, right, sketching things together and mixing things up so other ideas and other inspiration that you picked things off, right, will create something new, right? So that is the concept part. This is actually defining if you are a really creative person or not, right? If you're not a creative person and you're just a good executor in 3D or something like that, right? You let the concept do by someone else, for example. The last step is realization. On this step, you will be using a software to realize your design project. Don't use the software before you really are clear in your head what you actually want to design. There are a lot of people making the mistakes by opening the software and designing from the software, right? So there you actually lose the effect of creating out of a box context or concept. Additionally, in the realization step, of course, is the learning step, right? If you see in your inspirations that you have a certain new technique that you need to learn to actually realize it, to get it to that level that you want to bring it, then you learn it. Okay, guys, that's the end of the podcast. Those have been the 5 important steps of a successful design process. If you want to hear more about an experience of an agency, right, make sure you follow us on YouTube and all the other social media channels. We have a few things that we want to share with you guys, right? That's it. I'm out. See you next time.